Okay, so I want to just breeze over layers again one more time today. I want to redefine them. I want to show you how to kind of start your assignment for this week, and then we're going to talk about how you're going to be naming your layers and how to start a template file for this course. Okay. Um, any other questions on anything before we get started? Okay. So this is this assignment file. This is what you'll start with for your layers assignment, okay? Here's the reading, the course manual reading, of course. And then down here, this layers underscore floor plan, right? That's the practice file that was used in class. And then if we go to the assignment, right, we have AIA CAD layers right here. That's the second assignment. You have a bunch of PDFs here that talk about things we talked about in class. And also, here's the assignment file that you're going to begin with for this assignment, okay? So assignment in PDF format, here is the file you can use, and then a bunch of different things you can look at, okay? So I'm going to go back one layer. There we go. All right, so let's talk about layers one more time. Layers are used in AutoCAD to do a few different things. They're used to organize your lines in AutoCAD, right? So we organize things by architectural elements with regard to layers in AutoCAD. So we put all the doors on the same layer. We put all the windows on the same layer. We put all the walls on the same layer, okay? And that gets quite complicated as you work in a professional project, but the underlying theme is the same, right? All the same architectural elements go on the same layer, okay? And the reason that we do that is because we can control a lot of things globally with layers, all right? So what that means is that if I have a layer called A-door and all of my doors are on that layer, okay, if I wanted to change the color of those doors, meaning the line weight, and I'll remind you, line weight is the thickness of the line that is plotted with this drawing, okay? Then I could go to the layer manager here. I could click on the color, which is wrong. I could click on, the right color and hit OK. All right. And by doing that, all of the doors on that layer will be changed. Okay. So we can organize things. We can make global changes to things in the layer dialog box. We can control visibility through layers, right? So if I have a door on a layer, which to put a door on a layer, and in this case I'm changing a layer, or excuse me, I'm updating a layer because this door right here was drawn on layer 0, which is incorrect. We want to make sure all of our items are on the correct layers. So your task with this assignment will be to take this door, right, and use the drop down, select it, use the drop down, and with those layers that you create, okay, you're going to create some layers. There are already some in here, but you are going to generate some new ones, right? And that's in the assignment, okay? I'm just going to use some of these. Well, no, I'll create a new one actually to put my doors on, okay? So to create a new layer, I'm going to go to the layer dialog box. I'm going to click on new. I'm going to give this layer a name. A-door-new. I'm just going to give mine that name and hit enter, okay? And I'm going to change the color to magenta, okay? Now that I've created my brand new layer, right, I can select this object that I want to put on that layer. I can use this drop down, find the layer I want to place that on, select it, hit escape, and that door is on that layer now. Although now that I look at it, I missed this piece, which we'll just count this piece as the door, okay? Oh, and shoot, I missed that little piece right there. So I need to go back and select those. I could click on it and pick, escape, escape. I could use a blue selection window to just grab that one little tiny object, right? You see that? If I use a green selection window, I have to just be careful not to touch anything that I don't want to change the layer of, okay? So I can grab that, drop down, change it to the layer, hit escape, okay? Oh, okay. So I just placed that door on that layer. So I'm going to grab this little piece, we'll call that door, even though it's a little bit of wall, right? And I'll drop this down and I'll choose new door, okay? One more little piece. And you'll get very quick at this, right? I'm kind of moving slowly just to show you a bunch of things, but you'll get very quick at this, all right? One thing I want to clarify, we've used this assignment for a lot of different semesters, and there are a couple things that I see with this assignment. One thing I want to point out is the difference between interior and exterior walls, okay? When we're looking at a wall in AutoCAD, this line, and these lines comprise that wall, all right? So this is not considered the exterior of the wall, and this the interior of the wall, right? This object as a whole is considered the exterior wall, and that's because it borders the exterior of the building, okay? These walls like this are considered interior walls, all right? So I know that in the assignment you have interior and exterior walls that you have to create layers for. So just know that this wall, including these little breaks in the wall, right? Those will all go on the exterior wall layer, and these will all go on the interior wall layer, right? All of these walls. That's a wall. That's a pony wall right there. These walls are all interior walls. Okay, you guys get the idea. Okay, the other thing that I saw was people always ask about this little piece. We'll just count that as a door, right? And then the other thing I always get a question about is, what about this little tag here? Is that a door? Yes, we'll call that a door element for now, okay? Okay, so we can create a new layer. We can change the layer that an object is on, right? If we want to draw something on a specific layer, you want to change your layer to that layer before you begin drawing. So I can go to A-glazing, click on it. Then when I initiate the line command, right, I can draw on that layer, okay? I'm going to select that and hit delete. I know how to create a new layer. We know about on and off, freeze and thaw. These both control visibility. On off we're not going to use because you really have the ability to create some errors on your drawings by using on off, because when you have the visibility turned off with the on off command, you can still draw on that layer, which is problematic, okay? And we don't want to be doing that. So we're just not going to use this functionality at all. We're going to be using the freeze thaw functionality here, okay? So freeze thaw will allow you to visibly turn things on and off. So this is my door layer that I created. It's not my current layer, so I'm able to freeze it, right? And it turns off, turns back on, okay? I'm able to lock layers. Locking a layer makes it not editable, all right? We all know what that's good for. And then I have my plot, no plot option. So if I want something on a layer to not print because it's maybe you've designed something and it's drawn, but you're not quite ready to show it to the client, or you know you have text in there that you don't want to print, right? Notes. Then we're going to choose to not plot those. We have the color, which we can change here. Okay, I'm going to click on that. We're going to be using these index colors 1 through 9 for now. In several weeks, we'll be using these shaded down here, which we'll talk about later. But to change the color of our layer, we can click on it right there, and we can change it to one of these index colors here. Okay. This is a good illustration of what not to do. We're not going to use any of these colors up here. All right. In fact, I think I might update this file again because the line weight right here, this is not good to use as an example. I think someone has altered this since it was posted on CAD Common. But we're going to leave these as default. We're going to have all of these as default. Okay, so I'm going to click on one layer, press Shift, pick the rest of the layers, and I'm going to change all these to default at the same time. Okay, so this is a good reminder. Okay, default. So default here. For now, just continuous here unless you're asked to change that, but this line type area, this will allow you to change the graphics of a line. You can make it dashed, you can make it dots, you can do dash dot dot or whatever, okay? Any questions about the layer dialog box at all? Creating new layers, making layers current? I want you to also remember that we can also have a lot of the functionality in the layers properties dialog box up here in our layers tool palette, okay? So we have things like on off, we have freeze thaw, we have lock, okay? We have make current, all right? And then we have this drop down where I can change the layer that I'm on, okay? Okay. So to get started on your assignment, right, all of these, all the geometry on the screen should be on layer 0. And you're going to select these items and you are going to change the layer, right? But not only are you going to change the layer, before you do that, you're going to create some new layers, okay? So create your new layers within this drawing, select the objects, all right, and then change the layers, okay? Okay, right there. Maybe you should take it with you, that way. Okay, let's talk about, there's a couple other things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we're going to formally name our layers, and then we're going to talk about how to create a template file, okay? And the template file you're going to begin this week as an assignment, but it's something that you're going to continually update over the next several weeks. I mean, really through the whole semester, okay? All right. So I have layers in template. I'm going to click on that file that was in our overview here, okay? This kind of goes over what a template file is, how you can create a template file, all right? And then it briefly, this document talks about how you're going to be naming your layers. And then I have kind of an extended version of this document that down here that talks about all of the different layers that we can create and what goes on those, okay? Look at all these wonderful layers you'll be able to create. Okay. So I'm gonna do a little exercise here, all right? I'm going to pretend that I'm you guys and I'm at home and I need to do my assignment, and it's a drawing assignment, right? And I'm gonna start my assignment. So I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna open up AutoCAD. I'm gonna close this file first. And I'm just gonna preface what I say here by saying, I think the first 10 minutes of any assignment is probably the worst, right? You sit down at your computer, you know you wanna do your homework, and you sit there and you're like, okay, how do I start, right? I'll get you going on most of them, at least. So to start a brand new drawing assignment, if I didn't give you a file, likely you would sit down, you would open up AutoCAD like this, and you would say, well, I know I need to start a file to work with, okay? So you would click on Start Drawing, all right? That would open up a blank drawing, all right? And as I've told you before, AutoCAD is a very generic software. So when we open up a file like this, there's really no definition in it, okay? So, you know, we have to come down here to units. We have to change the units to whatever we're drawing in. I'm going to change it to architectural. Okay, now at least I know that I'm ready to draw in architectural units if I need to. Okay, what do I need to do next? Well, I'm drawing a floor plan, so I need some layers. Okay, well, I'm going to come up here to layer properties. I'm going to click on layer properties. Of course, there are no defined layers because this is the generic file, right? So I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to create a bunch of new layers, right? I'm going to name them all. And then I'm going to look at my my layer chart that I have. Let's see, I have over here. And I'm going to say, okay, well, what are my layers called? Well, A-wall, okay. And then what goes on A-wall layer? Well, I don't quite remember. We remember because walls are easy. But, you know, I come down here and I look and I think, oh, A-wall. Oh, walls go on there, okay. So there's a thought process and there's some work that you have to do before you can start an assignment properly and get all your points, right? Because as I grade your assignments, I look at things like, is it drawn in the correct units, right? Did they think to change the units? Are there layers created? Do those layers have the proper names? Do they have the proper color assigned to them, which then translates into a line weight? Then I look at the actual drawing. And I say, and I look at it and I think, are the lines straight? Are they dimensionally correct? Did they draw everything that they were required to in the assignment? Okay, that's my thought process. So you come in, you set your units, you create some layers, And for now, that's really all you have to do. But in the future, you'll have to do things like create a text style, create a dimension style. You may have to come down here and create a layout so that you can print, right? That's a lot of work. An assignment that may take you 30 minutes to complete, by the time you have to recreate your layers, reset your units, create a text style, create a dimension style, set it up to print, right? All those things that you have to do on every single assignment, that'll add 30, 40 minutes to your assignment, right? So wouldn't it be wonderful if you had a file that when you opened it, it already had all of those things set up in it, right? It already had layers in it that you've defined and used. It was set up to print. It had dimension styles. It had text styles in it. The units were set to architectural, right? Well, there is a way to do that, and it's called a template file. And AutoCAD will allow you to do that, okay? So what we're going to do with this next assignment is I'm going to have you begin a basic template file, all right? And I'm going to have you start defining things in it. And as the semester progresses, you're going to open and update that template file with the things that we learn that week so that when you start your assignment every time, you don't have to create layers, create dimension styles, create text, set it up to print, set the units. You just have to open it and start working, okay? So let's talk about a template file, okay? I want to talk about, first of all, the difference between a template file and a drawing file, okay? And the main difference between, a drawing file that we draw in and a template file is how it's saved and the drawing extension, okay? So if I want to create a template file, and this is in the reading, okay? And this is to remind you, a template file has a DWT extension associated with it. And a drawing template file, a template file, will allow you to open it several times without having any information in it, meaning drawings in it. So it's just kind of one of those things where you create it, AutoCAD remembers it's a template file, it recognizes it's a template file, and when you start a new drawing, you can choose it and it will open up a blank file that has your information in it, okay? So you will have an assignment to create a template file, and let me just open that real quick here, and I want to show you the things you're going to create in it. Assignments, template file. Here we go. And one thing I do want to point out before I even begin doing this is that your assignment in Canvas, I have set it so that it will only accept DWT files. That's a template file. So if you don't save your file in the correct format, you'll get an error that's, I don't know what it says, but it'll probably say something like, cannot accept this format, cannot upload. There's an error, and you'll think, oh, it's Canvas, because Canvas is like that sometimes. But in fact, if you don't have it in the correct format, you can't upload it to Canvas, okay? So our template assignment, you're going to be creating some layers in there, just a few. Let's see. An assignment layer, a text layer, a title block layer, a temp layer, and you're going to be loading some line types in there. I'm going to show you how to turn the grid and snaps on and off, and then I'm going to show you how to save it. So there aren't a ton of things to be defined in here, but the main point of this assignment is really just to make sure that you know how to do this so that in the future you can add things to it, okay? All right, so the first thing we're going to do in our template file is we're going to change our units to architectural, and the assignment says that. It says to go to the application menu, this big A, and select drawing utilities. So the big A, and go down to drawing utilities, okay, and go to units. This is a fancy way of coming down here and clicking architectural. Same thing, right? In AutoCAD, we have a bunch of different ways to do the same thing, all right? So that's going to be number one, all right? I'm going to skip step 2 for now, and I'm going to show you how to save this file first thing and make it a template file. I'm going to come up here to the application menu. I'm going to choose Save As, and I'm going to choose Drawing Template. Do you see that? Drawing Template right there. all right? If you save your drawing template file right where AutoCAD shows you, in the location it shows you when the save dialog box pops up, I'm going to show you what this will do if you just save it here, okay? But before I hit save, I just want to show you that, do you see all of these are that DWT extension? DWT, okay? These are built-in AutoCAD templates. So I'm going to name mine SB _ 2019, okay? And file type, AutoCAD drawing template, DWT. And I'm going to hit save. This, just hit OK. All right, so what I just did there, saving it, created a template file, all right? And what does that do? Well, now when I click on Start, see I'm in this little Start menu here, under Templates, instead of just clicking here, see under Templates, I can use the drop down, and SB 2019 is right there. So I can choose my template file to begin my assignment with, all right? So when you're at home and you save your template file, this will allow you to access it to start a brand new assignment, okay? So I can click on that, and it opens up a blank drawing, and we haven't done a lot in here, but do you notice my units are set to architectural? That was the one change that we made, right? Check that off the list, right? We don't have to remember to do that again. Okay. So I'm going to do some other things here. I'm going to create some layers, all right? So I'm in my SB DWT file right here, okay? So what I'm doing now, I've created my template file by saving it. But what if I need to add things to that template file and update it so that in the future, there's more information for me to use, like layers, right? Well, I'm going to create a couple layers. So we have the, I did create layers in there last time, remember that? Let's update these. I'm going to call this one A-wall, enter. I'm going to set its properties. My wall is going to be red. You guys will have other layers you need to put in here, but some of these AIA layers that I'm going to show you right now, which we'll talk about the naming convention in a minute, those are going to be very helpful to have in here. So I'm going to create and I'm going to redefine some of these layers. So I have A-wall and I have it defined as red, okay? I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to call this A-door, enter. And I'm going to change the color to cyan. Great. I'm going to change this layer to A-window, enter, okay? And I'm going to change that to magenta, okay. So now I've kind of created some more definition here, right? I've updated my template file. I'm going to close out my layer dialog box. And now what I'm going to do is, because I'm working in my actual DWT file, my template file, if I choose File, Save As again, Save As, File, Save As, Drawing Template, I can save over the top of that file that I created in the first place, and that will update it. So I can hit Save Now. Would you like to replace it? Yes, I would. Hit OK. And now that template file is updated, right? So if I close this tab out and I want to start a brand new drawing, right? My template exists here, right? I click on it, it opens up. And because we redefined and saved over the top of that, now that information is saved in here, okay? Now what's really great about a template file is, number one, it has built-in information in it. So we have layers in there. We have other definitions that we never have to define again, right? So in addition to our assignment or the work that we have to do professionally in our office, you know, we no longer have to spend 30 minutes defining layers and print settings and all of that good stuff. It will be built in there, okay? Another really great thing is that if we forgot something or something we defined as wrong, we can go back in there and change it, right? And then save over the top of the old one, okay? Now, let me close out of this. I have my, my template file saved. One thing I want you to notice, I'm going to close out of this drawing here, is that, and what I'm going to do here is show you the difference between a DWT, a template file, and an actual drawing file, okay? The DWT file is your template. It's kind of that basic, the format that you're going to use to start your assignment or work, okay? When I click on that to start a project, watch what happens. It uses it, right, to begin the drawing, but then it immediately translates it into a DWG file. Do you see up here? It says drawing for DWG file, right? So it has taken that template, and in me just clicking on it to use it, it's translated it into a drawing file, which is a working file, right? So now I can come in here and I can just start working. I can click the down arrow here on my layer tool palette. I can choose wall. I can click on line, and I can begin drawing. Escape, escape, right? And I'm in a drawing file. So now when I hit Control S save, right? I go to my desktop or wherever I'm saving my files, Shelly's file, enter, and this is my working file, okay? So the next assignment that you start, after your template file is generated, right? You're gonna start from now on your drawings using that template file, okay? And you're gonna save them as working files, DWG files from now on, okay? And if I could give you some best advice, every now and again after we learn a new skill, go into, do that skill in your template file and save it so that the next time you start a brand new file, you don't have to spend time defining those things over and over and over again, okay? Because, you know, I myself get lazy and I think, oh, I'm not going to change that in a template. It will take me 5 minutes. But then I end up, you know, altering it in 50 different files. And I just think, why didn't I just go in there and change it in my template file, right? It would have saved me a lot of time. Okay. Any questions about the template file? Yep.
So could you save that to the template file so we just write it that way, like if we're starting to work here and finish it at home?
Yes, that is a good question. Sorry, I didn't quite complete that, did I? So my template file, I'm going to actually create a brand new drawing here. Or actually, I'm going to open up my template file. File, open. Ooh, in fact, I might need to go, you know what? So my template file is buried. Let me show you how to save a template file elsewhere. And I think it would be a good idea for you to save it in 2 places. So the question is, can I take my template file and not only save it in AutoCAD, the interface, can I take it with me on a zip drive? Save it on a zip drive so that when I go to different places and work, I have that there for me to use. And the answer is yes. So I can, when I create my template file, I'm going to save as a template file. I can save it here in this template folder. And that is located on your PC under the C drive, user, sbrady14, app data, right? It's kind of buried down in here in this folder, okay? So what I should have done is I should have saved it twice. I should have saved it in this location, right, on my personal PC so that I could use it there. And then immediately I should have done another save as, and I should have saved it like on the desktop or a zip drive so that I could take it with me elsewhere, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to now, says drawing 5 DWT. I could grab this and I could right click and I could copy it and I could, you know, copy it and then paste it onto a zip drive if I didn't want to create a new one, okay? I could also, if I were, you know, working with this file, I could go to my desktop and I could hit save right here, save. And by doing what I just did there, that DWT file is now saved on my desktop, okay? Now here's the inherent issue with what I've just done, okay? I now have 2 copies of the same template file. So anytime now you decide to update this template file, guess what you're gonna have to do? Update it in 2 places, right? Which is just a second save as. So save as in your interface location, right? And save as on your zip drive or wherever else you have it located, just so that you have the same copy in 2 places. Yep.
Should we put our initials on it? Because in the instructions it just says March 1310.
Yeah, just name it like the assignment says. I just did it like that for class purposes. Yep. Yes. But to be honest, if you're going to be using it elsewhere, I don't mind if you name it something like, you know, SB template file, you know, blah, blah, blah. If you name it and I know that there was some thought behind the name, right? Not just this is the template file or drawing one, then I won't mark you down usually. But yeah, so if you want to name it for future use, something professional, you can. That's fine with me. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. Okay. So next thing we're going to do today, let's talk about layer naming. Okay. So we have learned how to use layers, how to create them, how to edit some of their properties, right? How to lock them, unlock them, make them visible, not visible. We've talked about defining them into a template file. We've talked about template files. The final thing I want to talk about today will be, so today is an easy day for you guys, right? The final thing I want to talk about today is how you're going to be naming your layers, okay? So layers in template. I'm going to move down here very quickly. A couple of things, and I'm going to pull this out here, and let's go to modules, and I'm going to come down here to layers. Okay. AIA CAD layers in the assignment. So we have a bunch of PDFs in the assignment, and these are just meant to show you very formally how layers are named professionally, okay? So, and I can't remember what's in all of these, honestly, so we'll open up a few of these. Allow. There we go. So CAD layers, let's open this one up. This is a list of a lot, 6 pages worth of professional CAD layers named properly, okay? And when I say named properly, they are named according to the National CAD Standard. So if I go onto the internet and I type in National CAD Standard, all right, look at that, United States National CAD Standard, version 6. You guys want that job? Developing the National CAD Standard. I only laugh because you don't even know how much discussion goes on about this in offices. People go crazy about this. But this is where all of this comes from, right? From the National CAD Standard, okay? So if you're ever questioning anything, this is basically where all that definition comes from, okay? All right, so this document will show you a bunch of different names of layers, okay? Number 1. Let's look at some of this other thing. AIA CAD layer methodology, probably another document that has more layers in it. Oh, this talks about how layers are named. So why we have this A, why we have this name, and this name, which we'll just talk about in a couple minutes. So if you happen to forget, and then we have some more layers, okay? So this is really sort of the definition of the National CAD Standard in text format for you. Let's see here. This is sort of the same thing as the previous document, but just a little bit more. This is something that Jeff, who is one of our other instructors, this is something that he developed. It's sort of a summary of the same topic. That's you. But I like to give you everything that I have, right? Here we go. And then our pen weight chart, okay? Just in case you can't find it or whatever, this is our pen weight chart, okay? So this will just remind you what our pen weights / colors look like when they're printed. So red is pen number 1, and it's red on your screen in AutoCAD, but when it's printed, it's this color. It's this thickness, sorry, okay? Okay. So let's talk about how layers are named, all right? You saw me naming a few different layers, A-wall, right? So why did I do that, okay? I did that because it's according to the National CAD Standard. And the way that layers are named professionally, there really is a methodology to it, okay? The A that I typed in, that is the discipline code. So A, in this case, means architectural, okay? For all of you engineers out there, civil engineers, there would be a C here. For structural engineers, there would be an S. For mechanical engineers, there'd be an M or maybe a PE, something like that, okay? I don't know what mining engineers do. Maybe some type of civil or topography, right? Something to that effect. I'm sure if you're very interested, I'm sure it's on the National CAD Standard site. But this is the discipline code. So basically, this tells you who is responsible for that layer. Okay, and that's important because a lot of different disciplines use the same type of elements in drawings, and we need to know who is responsible for them, right? We need to know that if a layer is a dash wall, that the architect drew that wall and it's for design intent, right? We want to know that if there's an S in front of a wall layer, that the structural engineer drew it, and that's a structural drawing, right? And there's a lot of difference between those two things professionally, okay? Responsibility, who moves it, who edits it, right? You're essentially responsible for your own layers within your drawings, okay? So that's why we have the discipline designator, all right? It can be one letter or two, so A or AE. That's something you might see. Then we have a dash. Then we have a 4-letter major group description. So what is it? What kind of architectural element or civil or electrical element is it? Is it a wall? Is it a door? Is it a window? Okay, so that's the major category. Then we have a dash, and we have another 4-letter descriptor, all right? It's a minor group category. So it's an architectural wall. PART means it's partial height. More description. So we know when we look at this layer, if we graphically look at the screen and don't know what something is, you select it, you look at the layer, and by how the layer is named, you should know what it is, right? It's architectural layer, it's a wall, and it's partial height, okay? Another dash, and then a status field, 4-letter status field, demo. So this is an architectural wall, it's partial height, and it's scheduled to be demoed, okay? Now, you're likely, until you get into the professional realm, not going to probably go past a dash wall in your layer naming, okay? When you get into the professional realm, you will get into layers that have this many definitions in it, okay? But the really kind of syntax of this is you have the designator with a dash, 4 letters, dash, 4 letters, dash, 4 letters, okay? And that's why when I was in my DWT file, right, this is my template file, I clicked on layer properties and I named things, well, I cheated a little, didn't I? Windows are actually not called windows in architecture. It's called glazing, right? There's my 4-letter descriptor, okay? So maybe if I wanted to, let's find something in our list here. If I wanted to, ooh, bless you. If I wanted to create a ceiling layer, you know, and I'm new at this and I don't quite know what a ceiling is called in architecture. That's why we have this list here, okay? You could go in here and you could look for ceiling. Oh, there it is, A-ceiling. Ceiling information goes on the A-CLNG layer, okay? So I can come back to AutoCAD. I can call this A-CLNG, enter, and I can come over here, click on this color. I don't think, this one doesn't give you colors actually. I'm just gonna pick magenta for now, okay? All right, what about stairs? What layer does stairs go on? We don't know. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna search through this list. Let's see if it's searchable. Control F for find. Stair. Oh, look at that. It popped right up there, okay? So A-FLOR-STRS. Well, that's weird. It has an FLOR in it. You never would have thought that, right? But it stands for floor. So it's a floor element. Stairs are a floor element. It's architectural, it's a floor element, and the floor element is stairs, so it does make sense, okay? So I'm going to go back to my CAD drawing, my DWT, A-FLOR-STRS, enter. And I'm going to leave that white, okay? But maybe, and this is really not the case in real life, but I'm just going to show you this so you know, maybe the stairs need a dashed line weight associated with them, okay? So I want to change the line type to dashed. So I'm going to click on continuous. Well, I don't see a dashed line weight here, so I'm going to click load. I'm going to mouse down here, okay, until I see dashed, okay? Okay, so I'm loading a line type here, okay, and I click on dashed, I hit OK. Now it's loaded, so I can click on it and hit OK. And now my line type is dashed, all right? To make this layer current, meaning I want to draw with it, I can double click on my layer right there, click on line, and I'm drawing a dashed line now. Okay. If I need to edit that layer, right, I want to make it globally different, I can come over here in my layer dialog box and maybe change the color. Click on white. Let's make it green. Hit OK. And now it's green. Okay. Does the idea of how layer naming make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? It's really a different language, and I remember when I learned the methodology when I was in school here. You know, I was like, I'm never gonna get used to it. It's never gonna make sense, right? But it does, and eventually you start speaking that way. What layer is that on? A-wall, or it's on the A-glaze layer. You start speaking architecture that way, right? So it'll get easier, and if I could give you a good suggestion, just get used to it now because this is the way it is professionally, right? So it would be better for you to go into the profession knowing that this is how it works, and you'll impress your future employers by doing it this way. Okay. All right. Any questions? You guys are very quiet in the morning. It doesn't feel that early. Okay. So for your assignment, you have your layer assignment that you still need to do. Okay. That should be hopefully fairly easy for you to complete. And then I'm going to go to modules again. You're going to have the template assignment that you also have to complete that we looked at, right? So your template file assignment, let me look at that one more time. Download these about 10 times. This PDF shows you exactly what you need to do. These are the minimum layers that you need to create. I might give extra credit if you guys create some more architectural layers in there, okay? So, make a good attempt at getting a few in there. Probably the most common, walls, doors, windows, annotation, right? You're going to use those for most assignments, okay? Oh, one thing I forgot to show you this. Sorry, I forgot to show you this. Turn off the grid, all right? Final thing, do you see this kind of inherent grid behind us in AutoCAD, right? It's for reference. I'm just going to say that. It's for reference, right? It's a visual cue so that you can look at it and it gives you a little bit of scale to your objects in AutoCAD. But it's not really something that I can engage with. I can't, click on the line tool and I can't snap to it, right? So, it's good for reference. I can look at it and say, well, maybe this is a ½ inch, 1 inch, 1.5, 2, 2.5, right? But, it's useful in that aspect, but in any other way, not really, okay? So the way that we can turn this off, you see this little blue display grid. It's F7 on your keyboard, right? I'm all about the keyboard, right? I think it makes you a fast drafter. F7 turns on and off. I can also click on this little icon down here and turn it off, okay? Personal preference, most of the time I tend to turn it off just because once I've drawn a few things, I know the scale of my drawing, so it doesn't visually help me, and it kind of, for me, it clutters up my screen, right? So I do tend to turn it off, and it looks like in your assignment, which I forgot about that, you're going to be asked to change that, okay? One thing I want to make evident, some of these assignments have drop your folder into the G Dropbox, okay, for turn-in. That will never be the case. You're always going to submit everything on Canvas. So if you see that, just disregard it, okay? We probably need to update this a little bit better. We maybe missed a few of these, but always submit your assignments on Canvas, okay? All right, does anybody have any final questions for me? All right.